The common death adder. We start with the most iconic of them all, the common death adder, or Acanthophis antarcticus. You can find these guys all along the eastern and southern coasts of Australia. They are thick, heavy snakes that rarely grow longer than 65 centimeters, but what they lack in length they make up for in pure speed. The common death adder has a strike that takes less than 0.15 seconds. To put that in perspective, that is faster than the blink of a human eye. They use a technique called caudal luring, where they wiggle the tip of their tail to look like a small worm. When a bird or a lizard comes close to investigate the snack, the adder strikes before the prey even realizes it is in danger. Their venom is purely neurotoxic, causing a complete shutdown of the voluntary muscles and leading to respiratory failure in a matter of hours if antivenom is not administered. The desert death adder. Moving into the red center of the continent, we find the desert death adder. This species has adapted perfectly to the harsh, arid environments of western and central Australia. Their scales are often a bright brick red or orange color, which allows them to disappear completely into the desert sands. Unlike their coastal cousins, the desert death adder can tolerate much higher temperatures and can stay buried in the sand for days, waiting for a single hopping mouse to pass by. They are slightly smaller, but their camouflage is considered some of the best in the world. If you are walking through the outback and you don't have your eyes on the ground, you could be standing centimeters away from one and never know it until it's too late. The northern death adder. Up in the tropical regions of Queensland and the Northern Territory lives the northern death adder. This species thrives in the heat and humidity of the north. They are often darker in color with more pronounced bands across their bodies. One interesting thing about the northern death adder is how they have adapted to the seasonal floods of the tropics. They are surprisingly good swimmers and can be found near the edges of swamps and billabongs waiting for frogs. Their venom is just as potent as the others, and because they live in such remote areas, getting to a hospital in time is the biggest challenge for victims. The Kimberley death adder. For a long time, scientists thought the adders in the northwest were just northern death adders, but in 2015 they discovered a brand new species called the Kimberley death adder. This snake is a specialized predator of the Kimberley region's rugged landscape. They have a very distinct orange hue and a higher number of scales on their underbelly compared to other species. They are a perfect example of how much we are still learning about these reptiles. Because they live in such a rocky and isolated environment, human encounters are rare, but they remain one of the top predators of the Kimberley scrub. The Pilbara death adder. In the iron-rich earth of the Pilbara region lives the Pilbara death adder. These snakes have evolved to match the deep, rusty colors of the local rocks. They are often found in rocky outcrops and gorges where they wait for small mammals. What makes the Pilbara species unique is their size and build, as they tend to be a bit more slender than the common death adder. This allows them to move more easily through the cracks in the rocks, while still maintaining that lightning-fast strike capability. The Barkly Tableland death adder. Out in the vast, treeless grasslands of the Barkly Tableland, you will find the Barkly Tableland death adder. This is one of the most specialized adders because it lives in an environment with almost no cover. They rely on the deep cracks in the black soil to hide during the heat of the day. They have a much paler coloration to blend in with the dried grasses and dusty earth. Because their habitat is so flat and open, they have to be even more patient than other species, often waiting for weeks for a single meal to cross their path. The rough-scaled death adder. Found in the northern parts of Australia and stretching into New Guinea, the rough-scaled death adder is easily identified by its texture. While most snakes have relatively smooth scales, this species has strongly keeled scales that feel like sandpaper. This texture helps them move through thick leaf litter and mud without slipping. They are often found in monsoon forests and near water sources. Their venom is particularly dangerous because it contains a mix of neurotoxins and myotoxins, which can start breaking down muscle tissue as well as paralyzing the nervous system. The smooth-scaled death adder. Primarily found in the north and across into the islands, this species is the counterpart to the rough-scaled version. As the name suggests, their scales are much flatter and smoother, giving them a glossy appearance. They are masters of the forest floor, where they hide under fallen logs and debris. Like all death adders, they are live bearers, meaning they don't lay eggs but give birth to up to 20 fully functional and highly venomous babies at once. Even a newborn death adder has enough venom to cause a serious medical emergency for an adult human. The mud adder. The mud adder is a specific type of death adder found in the floodplains and river systems. They have adapted to living in areas that are frequently underwater. They are darker, almost gray or charcoal in color to match the wet mud of the riverbanks. They are known for being particularly stubborn and will not move even if a person is walking directly toward them. This sit-and-wait behavior is why they are responsible for so many bites, as people accidentally step on them while walking through the tall grass near water. The biology of the strike. To understand why these snakes are so successful, we have to look at their anatomy. A death adder has the longest fangs of any Australian snake relative to its size. These fangs are flexible and can move independently, allowing the snake to deeply inject venom even through thick skin or light clothing. When they strike, they don't just bite and let go. They often hold on for a split second to ensure a full dose of venom is delivered. Their entire body is built like a spring, and they can strike from a stationary position in any direction, covering a distance of up to half their body length in a fraction of a second. The death adder myth. For a long time, people called them deaf adders because they wouldn't move when people walked by, and it was believed they couldn't hear. While it is true that snakes don't have external ears, they are very sensitive to vibrations in the ground. The death adder isn't deaf, it just doesn't care that you are there. It trusts its camouflage so much that it assumes you won't see it. This is why most bites happen when someone accidentally steps on the snake. It isn't an aggressive animal, it is just a defensive one that is protecting its space. The Australian death adders are a perfect example of evolution at its finest. They have taken the standard snake body and turned it into a highly efficient specialized ambush machine. Whether they are hiding in the red sands of the desert or the thick leaf litter of the coast, they remain one of the most respected and viewed reptiles in the world. Respecting their space and watching your step is the best way to ensure you don't become part of their story. If you want to see more deep dives into the world of venomous reptiles, click the video on your screen right now and make sure to subscribe to Snake Universe. Thanks for watching.